What we want to do this morning is prepare ourselves for a short plenary. And I believe we need to declare that will start at 11:15. Is that right, Maynard?
Yeah, that's the schedule. Why don't you ask how many have to leave before that?
I'm going to do that.
Time.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. And so the process, as Maynard is urging me to get to it, is that you will have the time from now till then to prepare for that plenary. There are some of you who have already said you're going to have to leave before then. And I think we want to recognize who those folks are now, don't we, Maynard?
Yeah, let's just...
And we have a tradition called sending people out. Remember that one?
Yeah.
And so those of you who already know you're going to have to leave before then, could you just stand up wherever you are?
I think most already left.
If you haven't left by now, you're not.
We'll send you out. And,
that means the remnant is committed.
yeah, the remnant is still here. And all of us remember a little category in our heritage called representational responsibility. So that's who we are today. And so what you'll want to do in your groups is any remaining presentations that you want your group to hear and reflect on, so those reflections are part of your thinking, get done. We've set the screen up so Cyprian can do his presentation for the corporate group. It won't be with a microphone, it'll be in a conversation voice at the table, but we'll have his ability to do that presentation. And then the fundamental objective, as we all know, and I've told many of you, I figure Joe would roll over in his grave if we didn't do this, is to articulate what we see the future is requiring of us. And Cyprian has given me the best image of anyone in a little email he wrote one night. He said, you know, it's not us as an organization, it's us vocationally. And we may be acting that vocation out through some organization we're a part of. We may be acting it out in the workplace where we're engaged. There may be many different ways. But the directions for the future that are claiming our lives are the same. And we need to be able to articulate those. There are huge contradictions facing us in the world today. We haven't tried to do a contradictions analysis. For obvious reasons, that would not work in this moment of celebration and looking towards the future. And there will be time for that. But many of you in the papers you've written, the presentations you've done, have already described and defined the contradictions you see facing us. And so we're hoping to be able to draw that out in our future representation of this event. So methodologically, we're in the same mode. We want to talk and we want to listen. We want to reflect and we want to objectify. And be prepared from your group to give about a 5-minute, no more than that, because time won't allow it. They'll open the doors and start rolling the tables out at noon, I believe. A 5-minute presentation. We'll want to have our closing ritual at 11:45. Is that right, Maynard? So we're going to have on time, 30-minute plenary, quickly hear from everyone, thank ourselves, and thank all of those who have given us this opportunity. And we've had a little steering committee working behind the scenes the last year that has tried not to call much attention to itself, but I think you all know who those are. Susan Craver, who can't be here this morning, Jack Gillis, Maynard Moore, myself, and Bill Falkel from the seminary. And the one who took on the yeoman's work, as we've all seen how well that has worked, was Maynard, and Maynard will never be able to thank you enough. From the health group, they called in their report. They are stranded in the snow. They will be meeting at 2 o'clock this afternoon to finish their final report, which they will be emailing to us, and we'll be sure everyone gets it. And they said for you to be sure to know, neither snow nor sleet. And so with that, we will call our day complete on reporting. So now let's reflect for a moment. And I want to do something that is rarely done. That is, let's take 2 minutes to have an individual brainstorm. And I'd like you to answer 3 things. Write them on a sheet of paper for yourself. First thing is, what is the one thing out of this whole body, out of the last 3 days, that gave you an insight into what needs to happen in the future among people of spirit? That was our theme. We gathered as people of spirit, looking at the 21st century that we live in now. What's the one thing, one principal insight that just popped into your mind as I asked this question, that you have learned or reflected out of this time together, that people of spirit need to be about in the future? Second question. Within your workshop track, what was the principal insight that you go away with that had just never occurred to you? I mean, and you said to yourself, my God, how have I lived this long without grasping and seeing that? And then the third thing is, what kind of future do you think this event is calling for in terms of other possible events, other possible action, publications? Someone mentioned listserv. Somebody came up to me the other night and said, we should put together a great big giant speakers bureau of subject matter experts and advertise it with them and their organizations on the internet where we've been promoting this symposium, just to make visible to the world of resources that could be called upon. Those are the 3 questions. Take Okay, are we ready? All right, I'm just going to call for someone from each table. Just go around first, and then we'll do it large, so we get to hear from every one of you. Read your 3 or 4 items. Who from this table will read their 3 or 4 items?
I will. Jeez.
Good.
The one thing.
Please state.
Okay. I'm Martha Shep. the one thing all these 3 days gave me an insight in, my
We'd like
principal.
to hear you.
Okay.
Real loud.
Oh, all right. My principal insight was that we have to model these things we're learning. Not only model them, but share them. We have to share them with other people, whether they're asking for it or not.
All right.
Second one, what I took away was, I jumped tracks a bit, but when I went to the ecological one, and Tim Watson talked about the crisis we're in being more important, the required response is more important than what Pearl Harbor caused this nation to do. The galvanization should have occurred, and it's not, and the despair about that. But he was there with this young person, was it his grandson? I don't know. His nephew. And he talked about the necessity of doing this for the future, and I've been involved in eco things for many years now, and I've never been touched or moved. I always knew up here it was about the future, but he broke my heart open.
Young Michael Watson, who's also 14.
And the last one was, what kind of future is this event calling for? In my school, we use Wikimedia, as a way that people can post. You can make your own topic, things can group together, and people can resource there. I find it to be more effective than listservs and sharing emails and things like that. So I suggest somebody sets up a major wiki for this
Major
event.
wiki.
Thanks.
All right. Someone from this table, the urban table. All right.
I will.
Up in your loud voice, like you're yelling at kids.
Well, I certainly can do that. I'm not part of the group. I do have some theater training, so I can.
But I look for this smile every morning when I get up here. Isn't it a fantastic smile?
Yeah. Number one, don't be afraid to share your faith or your values with the world. That was really insightful. There's so many seeds planted over the last 40 or 50 years that have turned into wonderful tall trees. And I'm just amazed about. And then the third, because of those tall trees, there's so many stories to tell. You know, I feel it's sort of my job to begin to capture all those and share it. And one of the things that's happening, there's a local university called DePaul University in Chicago, and we're going to have 20 interns, senior interns in technology, 10 interns spending 20 weeks with us, upgrading our technology and adding wiki and doing all the kinds of things that we need to do to become a contemporary organization.
Fantastic. All right.
Take your stories and put them on the air.
All right. Broadcast. All right. Thank you. Someone from this table here. Don't be bashful, guys. Good. All right.
What do we need to take, what the people of spirit need to be about in the future? And it's about reaffirmation of our mission and experience as a challenge. The second thing is, what's the one thing that I've never thought of myself that surprised me? Every space is sacred. Now somebody mentioned right at the top of the mountain in West Virginia, Kennewick College. It's a challenge again to think of that as a sacred space, but it is a sacred space. It's like Rock Creek Parkway in the rush hour, that is a sacred space. As well as the sacred spaces we create for ourselves as reminders and symbols of how we live. And the final thing, what we need, what kind of future is this event calling for? I'm not sure about this. I'll go away tonight and think, no, I shouldn't have said that. I should have said something else. So, surrounded by the continual doubt and uncertainty, I think we need to create places and times and spaces where we can be reminded and we can be renewed.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right. Someone from this table. All right.
First question, define that place deep within ourselves where interreligious dialogue can be profound. And for the second question, I never really realized this think through interreligious dialogue as a general cultural building contribution. General cultural building contribution. And the last one, think through how to reconstruct our Christian voice. So at that interreligious table, a voice that comes from the place of weekly practice of that Christianity.
All right.
Read that last one again.
To reconstruct our Christian voice at that interreligious table. A voice that comes from the place of weekly practice of our Christianity.
Okay. Yeah, someone very wise, I read some long time ago, whose name I can't remember, Larry might recognize it from the quote, is, it's not important what you practice, but that you practice.
Well, it is important what you practice.
I have a addendum to this. I have a addendum to this.
No,
I was at Resurgence Publications needs to become Resurgence Communications.
Resurgence Communications. Okay.
Yeah, George.
Senior students, this is their senior project.
Okay.
They've got 3 nonprofits they're working on.
And we'll have Wiki and Facebook and everything else.
With 100% freedom comes 100% responsibility, right? You're on the staff. Next. You are.
We have a great legacy. It's been reminded of that. And I think the call is to create the next spirit giants. We need them. We need the spirit giants for taking this legacy forward.
Yeah.
Key insight, our old, what we have received, we have been able to reformulate and use again. I was talking about this image shift thing that Keith and company have deepened it and taken in all the new stuff that about the mind and the research that has gone on in that space. Our dependence on each other. What is the kind of future? We really depend on each other. We have to find ways of communicating deeply and simply.
Maintaining the interdependence.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, we have a table here. We weren't going by groups, we were going by table.
I just have
Please stand.
the third.
Talk loud.
I just wrote down an answer to the third question.
Okay. Good.
If Fifth City leadership had a regular sounding board that they could bounce their ideas off against, they could solve the drug problem in Fifth City. And that could be modeled for the nation. The sounding board. No words of wisdom from us. Just a sound.
Just a sounding. All right.
They have all the wisdom and motivation to do this.
All right. And we want to take time for 3 or 4 others.
George, I have
Share theirs with us.
I have one,
All
and
right.
except for my young Mr. Holcomb, is it Holcomb? It's not Holcomb. Okay. There's no youth here, and where there's no youth, we perish. So whenever we do these things, we need to do it at a time that we can involve the young people so that they can learn from us. And because I mean, none of us are going to be here forever. As much as we want to think we will be, we won't. And so we need someone to pick it up and carry the ball much farther. So I just think that we need to create a place or something that they can be involved in so they could see and learn. I think some of those people, some of our youth in Fifth City need to know what Fifth City was about, those that have forgotten, like most of us had.
The youth engagement. All right. Somebody else. Go.
For me, this has been such an affirming time. I've just experienced that people, we are all moving with one another, and the walls have come down, whatever kinds of walls we've had. And I I think Reynolds, talking about his close encounters, very close encounters in Afghanistan over and over again, just reminded me that when you let go of the fear, then the walls don't have to be there. It's when you build it up, you're defending something, then. And for the other part of it is Larry's thing about I am play. I'm just a play. I can play wherever I need to play.
And I have an ID card, but I'm just a
Yeah.
play.
That's just so free,
Fantastic. All right.
One of the things that we talked about in our group, I have this little thing that's called a prayer bowl. And I had never emptied it until I came here. And I emptied it out. And in the image of all space is sacred space, all time is sacred time, we are all sacred beings, I'd like you to put your images of what you want to bring for in light of what we've been doing in all these different groups in this little bowl. And, it's got turtles on it. Atlas supposedly stood on the backs of turtles to hold up the earth. So it's got its own thing. And the role I'll play in the play until we decide exactly what we're doing next, I promise I'll hold this bowl every morning in my prayers. And you can all pick it up and hold this bowl in your prayers every morning as well. And I offer that as a part of how we go out of here.
Fantastic.
And George, in response to the questions, the first one about where people of the Spirit need to be moving, I'm very aware that we all make our vocational decisions as very intimate, personal kinds of decisions, and there's a sense in which we're always making those. But on the other hand, once we've made the decision and taken the leap, it seems to me that we all need to envision that we never walk alone again. And so therefore what I said was, as people of the Spirit, we need to be moving from me to we.
Me to we.
And then when Bill was making his report, it dawned on me that in our corporate social responsibility track, we kind of maybe had a blind spot. Everything we've ever done, we've always done primarily from the bottom up in a situation where there was a hierarchical way to do it. And it just struck me that most of our conversation in that whole thing this week was top down.
Yeah.
So I think we need to look at that corporate social responsibility for how it could be accomplished from a bottom-up perspective. And I think maybe that might have been that triggered a little bit about what Cyprian said this morning about what went on with Camp Day. And then the last thing, I was particularly struck by all the different things that were going on in the interfaith group over here. And I know we've talked about living legacy, and when we were in Oklahoma City, we talked about living archives. Strikes me we need to start talking about a living repository as well. And maybe that's tied into what Wanda said about resurgence needs to be communication, not just publication. But the conversation with content needs to be going on constantly because there's so much going on that we all need to know about.
And some way to tie together all this is what keeps baffling me. And on my little list, that's one of the challenges of the future. Someone else. Thank you. To re-examine what inclusive mythology would mean for us today and to schedule regular dialogue on inclusive mythology. Okay, you're talking about the top of the social process. Yes, I am. As for reference from our documentation number.
Most of it has been said in one way or the other, except for most of this has been said in one way or the other. But one thing that I haven't heard yet that we got from our workshop is the advantage of our gray hair. Yeah. Especially in the undeveloped or violent settings. That there is in this cultural and value system, our gray hair is very important.
All right. Ray, you and I identify with that, huh?
We said that in ours. We said it was just too much wisdom in the urban workshop. I mean, the wisdom was just flowing. This was the youngest. We put him on the spot, the grandson, so.
Mel says that unless you've got a beard and are over 55, you're not going to be of any use in Afghanistan.
I don't have a beard, yes.
Y'all pay attention now. I'm going to start with number 2. This event, and this was the unexpected insight, this rehabilitated the Ecumenical Institute for me. Meeting all the people that we met here that I had never met before and did not know existed, allowed me, I think, maybe to go back to church and represent myself as academically. And I'm totally stirred by that. Who knew? The first one, intensive collaboration with one another. One thing that, what do we need to be about? Intensive collaboration with one another. Isolation sucks. 3, through constant online documentation of what we're doing in real time. Interchange that keeps us from being isolated. What I don't know, I know you know. But I haven't been telling you what I know. And there's the confession and a complaint.
And one of the things I want to do this year is to write a paper on the word ecumenical, because we need to re-empower that word and get it out of the 50s and 60s classification of what a few Protestant denominations were doing. It is the biggest word out there, and that's who we are a part of. The ecumenical something.
All right. We're going to close this formal process here.